today's video, I'm going to turn this piece of cherry that was gifted to me from a coworker. Started turning it and never finished. It originally had some pine on this end and was attached to a faceplate. I've mounted it on a worm screw and put it up in the chuck, ready to turn it. It looks like it might be laminated. 1, 2, 3 pieces, because there's this line that goes all the way around. So that's all I know about it. So I'm going to turn it round after I've remounted it and put a tenon on the bottom, mortise, sorry, and flip it around and hollow out the inside. 700 RPM. Some tear out from the end grain parts. Keep shaping it a little bit more, and I'll bring it back before I start making my mortise. So I'm going to mark for the mortise with the trick that I used last time, using the width of the live center to make the circle. So I'm going to make that first and then clean up the edge. There's already a pretty big divot in there from the previous turner, so I'll make that and then shape the bottom. So a couple things I did while finishing the bottom. I sharpened my parting tool, my beading tool, and my skew chisel, and I recut this tenon more perpendicular, and I sanded up through 400 grit, did the abrasive paste, and then finished it with some beeswax and mixed with linseed oil. So now I'm going to flip it around and refinish the outside. Now that it's flipped around, I want to take off this piece of pine. I did see, now that I've got it nice and smooth, it is a laminated piece. 2 pieces of cherry glued together. So I'm going to work on finishing the outside, trying to get rid of all the torn end grain. So I also sharpened both of my negative rake scrapers, put a new burr on it to help clean up this outside, get rid of this torn end grain. So I brought up the tailstock for support and spinning it. It's pretty close to being true. This is 700 RPM. I took care of that pretty well, and sanding will finish it up. So I'm going to go over it a couple more times and then sand and finish the outside. I am going to remove this piece of pine before I finish the outside, that way I can go all the way up to the edge and not have to worry about how this comes off later and have to go back and refinish it. So just going to use a bowl gouge to take care of it. So I finished the outside same way as I did the bottom, and now we're going to start hollowing out the middle. So I'm turning about 250 RPM. So 3 inches, 3 inches gives me about an inch on the bottom that I'll have to take away. So I'm just going to check the tightness on my chuck and start hollowing. So this is going to take a while, so I'll bring you back midway through. So I've made my way over halfway down and I'm at the point where the drill stopped. I have this wall pretty well thin, probably 3/8 of an inch, and starting to turn in to this belly at the bottom. But that's right where this all ends. So I'm using a carbide scraper, round scraper, and I'm using that to try and finish the bottom. So that's what I've got so far. Check the depth real quick. sure I don't make a funnel. Say 3 3/8. I safely got another 1/2 inch to go. So I'll keep trying to bow out this bottom part and get the bottom to the right depth. So I think I'm pretty close to being done. We're 3 7/8 deep, and that puts us probably 1/4 inch away from the mortise. So that's about as deep as I want to go. I think I've got good thickness on this part. So now I just gotta sand this somehow. My little angle drill won't fit in there, so I'm probably gonna have to do it by hand. So I'm gonna work on that, and I'll bring it back when it's finished. So while I was finishing the inside, I noticed the lamination starting to split, and then this crack. I'd seen the crack before, but didn't think it was anything. But now it's starting to open up in the glue seam in the 2 pieces of wood. So I'm going to fill it with CA glue, and then I'm going to have to refinish the outside. Decided that I'm going to buff and wax this piece. I've got the flap wheels for the outside and these balls for the inside. So that's what I'm going to do. And here it is, finished. Small little pot